Well, happy Friday night, everyone. It is October 15th, 2021, and I am coming to you live on Facebook for my Friday Night Live series. So the back of the card, or the base of the card, is very vanilla. It's thick, very vanilla, although it could be thin, but whenever I'm using either very vanilla or basic white, I like it to be a thick one. It just makes it a little bit more substantial. And we are using the Beauty of Friendship stamp set and the coordinating Beautiful Trees dies. And also the coordinating Beauty of the Earth paper. I'm going to actually show you from the catalog. This all is part of a suite, and some lovely papers in there. And I've used this paper before, but it's been a while. So let's get started. First thing we need is our base cardstock. And this is actually a piece, while I could probably sponge that or add color with a blending brush, it is actually a piece of the designer series paper. So in that package of Beauty of the Earth, there is this double-sided paper, and this makes a lovely ground. So I'm going to use this piece here, and I need to cut it down a little bit because I only want it the width of my card base. So I need it 4 1/4 inches wide. All right. And the measurements are all going to be on my blog afterwards. And if you guys would all do me a favor, when you are at my blog, go ahead and hit subscribe, and then you'll be notified whenever I upload something new to my blog, which includes Sunday for my 12 Sundays of Christmas posts. So here we have this, and I don't need a piece nearly this big, but I need to cut it down. I'm just going to take some snips, and I want it to probably, start here, and I'm creating just a little bit of a hill, a knoll. I'm just going to gently slope it down here. Something that looks like that. No two pieces are going to look the same. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to add a little bit of steel to put this in place. Now, once this is in place, I can add my sky. I mean, I could have added my sky beforehand as well. It doesn't matter either way. I'm going to take some balmy blue ink and a blending brush. I'm just going to put on a fine layer of ink. And I'm not worried about it being too uniform because it's almost as though there are clouds in the sky as well. So just a little bit of a layer there. And I also need a small piece of, and I don't think I thought I cut one, but now I can't find it. I need a small piece of very vanilla that measures I think 3 inches by 3/4 of an inch. So I just quickly cut that off to the side. This is going to become a latch because I didn't show you this before, but this is how this card opens. It's already written to go to somebody after this thing. I thought, oh wait, I should have done that until after. But so it's a little latch card. How fun is that? I'm going to just take, this is the latch mechanism, and I'm going to score it at 1 1/2 inches. All right. So I have that. And I want to also add some sky there. And I just have to add to a little bit. Most of it's going to be covered up, but just in case some of it's not, I wanted to take away some of the bright, very vanilla. So this is going to go on here and attach to the inside of the card. and I could do that now, but I want to figure out where my shrub is going first, because I may want to play with this, make it move up a little bit or down a little bit. So we're going to bring out a piece of scrap, very vanilla. And it doesn't matter whether this is thick or regular very vanilla. We're going to bring in our stamp set. And in this stamp set, there are these two pieces. And they are meant, I don't know that they're meant to be the tops of this tree, you know, so you can add some leaves to it. Or if they're meant to be whatever you want them to be. But when I saw them, I'm like, oh, those are bushes. Those are burning bushes. So that's why I've been dying to use this. All right, I'm gonna get out. Now in here, there's one that's a little bit more detailed than the other one. This one has more of a background, and that's the one I'm going to use with my cherry cobbler. I'm going to stamp it once, and then I'm going to stamp it again, but shifting slightly over just makes it a little bit more full. If you only want to do it once, there's no problem with that as well. If you try to stamp it exactly on top of itself, you probably won't be able to, so you might not even have to think about shifting it. Let's go ahead and clean this up before I get ink where I don't want it to be. I'm going to take the other piece, and most of the burning bushes I see aren't completely red for a while. There's a process where it turns from green to red. So I thought I would bring in just a little bit of old olive. Stamp that on top, and it just gives some depth of color here and makes it look a little bit more realistic to me. And now I need to cut that out using my Stampin' Cut and Emboss. Let's move this. Bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I froze there for a second. I don't know, did you all see that? I'm not sure how the internet is tonight. Maybe my husband and my son are streaming too many things right now. I'm gonna bring back my cardstock. And in this set of dies, there's this little piece right here, which cuts that out. I'm gonna have to make two passes, obviously, because I have two shrubs. I'll put our, so we have our number 1 plate, our number 2 plate, number 3 plate, our paper and die, and another number 3 plate. We'll run that through. There's one. And let's go ahead and do that again. I'll reverse direction this time. All right. And so there we have our two shrubs. Let me put my die back before I lose it. Now let's bring my card back in here. Now we're going to have a tree over here, but let's just see what we want to do with this shrub. So we can put it, I think it actually looks good right there on the top of that hill. And it's almost in the center, so that's probably really good right there. I'm going to, because I want it to hold really well, I'm using my Stampin' Seal Plus, and I'm just putting it on the left. I'm not putting it the whole way over. Positioning it about where I want it. Okay, so now this side of the latch, that's the part that we really need to have stuck down as well. So here's how you want to attach it so that it's going to close correctly. Figure out where you want your tree. Here's that fold. See how I've got it? I've got it folded right over. The adhesive is on this back, so when I close it, it's going to stick to the other side. So that's where I want it. I went ahead and cut a piece of cherry cobbler in advance. You know, I was noticing earlier tonight that I only had one bar. I mean, I'm connected to Wi-Fi, so I'm not sure why it matters, why it's doing it. But Wells is just funny that way. But summer's over, so I'm not exactly sure why there's any issues. So we have that. We will be using this other one, but before I place that, I want to go ahead and cut my tree. So this is just a scrap piece of early espresso. I'm going to get this die out. That does my tree trunk and branches. Now, in order to make it a little bit easier to adhere, I'm going to use a little bit of adhesive paper. One of my adhesive sheets. And now these are the old adhesive sheets. That's why they say Sizzix. But I just peeled off one side. I know that I'm just going to put it down here in the center. I mostly want my tree trunk and some of this attached. I don't need to put it on the whole thing. It's okay if some of my tree is kind of freewheeling it. As long as I make sure that where I'm putting my die is over the adhesive sheet, I'm good. Let's bring back in our Stampin' Cut and Emboss. Oh, I just moved that. Make sure that's pretty well centered, so I'm going to be good there. Run this through. Did you all enjoy the beautiful weather we had here in Maine this week? If you're not in Maine, I hope you had beautiful weather where you are as well. And so this is very intricate, so it just takes, it comes out very easily. You just want to make sure you're very careful so that you're not ripping the branches off. All right, let's bring the card back in here. And I've designed it so that this actually doesn't, it's not all on the card. It's going to hang off the edge a bit. So I think we're going to do something that looks like that. All right. And we'll cut this off in a second, but we need to add some leaves. And for the leaves, I've done this one before. This is the pattern from the Designer Series paper that I'll be using for the leaves. And I'm going to bring in, not this outline, but this piece right here. Put these back so I don't lose them. All right. Stampin' Cut and Emboss, coming back. Just going to put this over here. Obviously, you don't need as big a piece as I happen to have here. I can trim that down and make use of this portion a little bit later. Now, I didn't put the adhesive sheet on here. I think there's enough areas where I can just put regular adhesive down on this. There's big enough areas. And I probably, for this, I would use glue. But, I mean, you can make the Stampin' Seal work as well. I just happen to think there's a little bit more control if I use the green glue. I'm just going to put that in some of the bigger spots. I don't have to put it all over. Every piece doesn't have to have it. It's okay if some of the leaves are flying in the wind. just put this over the top, just like that. I'm gonna hold it down for just a second because it's got that glue on it. And I ended up putting glue on pieces where I didn't need to over here, I'm sure. Now we flip the card over and we just trim off this excess. So there's the front of our card. And if you don't like some of this sticking up, well, that's all right. Just put a little bit more glue underneath it. Again, you could use the adhesive sheet if you wanted to, if you didn't even want to bother with this. It's inexpensive enough and you get enough of it. All right, so we're almost done now. We need to position this as something that holds the latch, because the latch doesn't stay closed unless you have something over it. So we're going to put this shrub right here just so it overlaps a little bit. And I need to pop this off. It'll just make the mechanism a little bit easier to work with. So on this side of the shrub, I'm going to put some dimensionals. I probably don't need 3, but I'll give a good extra hold. All right. And if the tree is jutting out too much, that's okay. You just put it underneath the leaves. There we go. And so our card is staying shut. Just need to do a couple more things here. Let's go ahead and bring in a layer for the inside. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp again with my cherry cobbler. I'm going to make a couple more, or at least one more burning bush down here. I think I'll just do it once this time. And I'll add in the layer of old olive. That was so close. That's why I prefer my good blocks to the ones that come in the kits. But that's the one I had out, so that's the one I used. But I got lucky. Nothing went anywhere it wasn't supposed to. So this set has a bunch of different sentiments as well. I'm going to use the Friendships Refresh the Soul because I want to write a personal note in it. I did on this last one, and I will on this next one. I have an idea of who it's going to go to already. I'm going to take that stamp. I need to clean a block, though. So let me go ahead and clean this block. Hope I don't get an accident again. Now, in this card, there's some cinnamon cider, so I didn't know how the green would look up there, and I didn't think I wanted more cherry cobbler, so I went with something a little bit softer. I went with the cinnamon cider just to tie it all together. And I'm going to stand up so I can get over this without getting into the camera view. And there we go. Friendships Refresh the Soul. I can add some bling if I want to. This one is not going to have any bling because of the recipient. I just need to attach this piece in here with a little bit of Stamp and Seal. So we have a nice finished inside. Hides that latch mechanism nicely. And there we go. There we have our latch card. What do you think?